This was not an accident, it was not incompetence, and it was not a paperwork slip. This was a deliberate strike against the system, carried out quietly within the law and right in plain view. At 6:42 a.m. in the bitter cold before sunrise in St. Paul's Southern District, 3 unmarked federal SUVs sat parked at the curb with engines running. The streets were deserted, no cars, no pedestrians, only exhaust clouds drifting into the freezing air. Inside the vehicles were 11 federal inspectors, auditors, analysts, and compliance officers from the FBI and the Department of Health and Human Services. They were not preparing for a raid. They were not pursuing a suspect. Their mission was to verify documentation. On paper, the building ahead of them represented success. A licensed child care center, spotless inspection records, steady enrollment figures, and consistent government funding. The director, Amina Farah Hassan, appeared to be exactly the type of person the system was designed to help. She had no criminal history, no warning signs, and no complaints on file. State records showed she operated 5 child care facilities across the Twin Cities. Each day, she reported caring for more than 820 children. That figure mattered because higher enrollment meant more public funds, delivered automatically, month after month, year after year.
Illegally, that never should have been in this country, said they were somebody that they're not. They said they were married to somebody who was their brother or somebody else. Fraudulent visa applications, signed up for government programs, took hundreds of billions of dollars from the taxpayers, and we're going to remove them and we're going to get our money back.
It began in 2022 under the Biden administration. We saw indictments, and by the time those indictments were finished, 78 people were charged in relation to a fraud scheme that totaled $250 million for funding that was for a nonprofit that was supposed to help hungry children. It was called Feeding Our Future. And in that scheme, some 78 people that were charged, 72 of them were.
Over time, the payments became automatic, and that was where the system broke down. As inspectors exited their vehicles and approached the entrance, something immediately felt off. There were no parents, no children, no sounds of activity. The building was dark and completely silent. Inside, the stillness was absolute. Toys sat neatly on shelves, untouched. A fine layer of dust coated everything evenly. Cribs were fully assembled, their mattresses unused and pristine. Attendance sheets hung on the wall, every line filled in, every name checked, every box flawless. Perfect paperwork, empty space. This single location had received more than $46 million in taxpayer funds in just 12 months. $46 million. Yet there was no indication that even one child had ever spent a full day inside. At that moment, this stopped being a routine inspection. In the director's office, investigators discovered a binder, thick, orderly, and professionally assembled. Inside were rosters listing hundreds of children, complete with names, dates of birth, and eligibility numbers. At first glance, it appeared legitimate. On closer review, it was impossible. Patterns emerged. Repetition that does not occur naturally. Birth dates repeating across multiple locations. Addresses duplicated in different cities. These were not clerical mistakes. They were deliberately constructed.
This giant kind of fraud scheme that Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, also tweeted about, saying that there were 78 indictments so far, 57 convictions, as well as this dismantling of a $250 million fraud scheme. That is an older case than what we're now talking about with this new viral video. So this new viral video is trying to take past claims and kind of make these new claims. These new claims have not been investigated. In fact, Tiki Brown, the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Children, said that these centers have been visited in the past 6 months and that none of those unannounced visits have turned out any fraud, but they are investigating these locations.
The network had manufactured synthetic children, identities that existed only within government databases. Real social security numbers had been purchased on the dark web. Fake birth certificates were produced in backroom operations. Entire childhoods were invented for one purpose: billing the state. Then investigators opened a steel safe bolted to the floor. Inside was not paperwork. It was $38 million in cash, shrink-wrapped, stacked, and sealed. Resting on top were packages marked with symbols that had no place in a child care facility, cartel insignia. That was the point when the case exploded. This was not simple welfare fraud. This was not skimming funds. This was industrial-scale money laundering. The daycare was not a service provider. It was a bank, a government-funded bank for organized crime. As analysts dug deeper into financial records, the scale became staggering. From 2021 to 2025, the network linked to these child care centers received $2.8 billion in reimbursements. Billion with a B in some individual months, deposits exceeded $74 million. Yet less than 4% of the money could be traced to legitimate expenses such as food, rent, or payroll. There were no food contracts, no supplier invoices, and no employee payments. Instead, the funds moved through 43 intermediary accounts, through transfers intentionally structured below federal reporting limits, and through international wires sent to East Africa, the Middle East, and shell companies in Mexico. This operation did not survive by staying hidden. It survived because it appeared normal, perfect forms, automated approvals, no resistance, and the deception extended beyond paperwork. Investigators uncovered internal schedules labeled simulation shifts. Actors were paid to park cars in the lot during drop-off hours. Speakers hidden in bushes played looping recordings of children laughing. Used car seats were rotated between vehicles to create the appearance of parents. This was theater, a Hollywood-level performance meant to deceive a single audience, state inspectors who had stopped expecting fraud. By the time federal prosecutors authorized enforcement action, the network was already responding. In under 18 minutes, more than $96 million was rerouted through financial tunnels designed to collapse after use. Someone knew the government was inside.
They used this money that was supposed to be used for feeding children to buy houses in Minnesota, resort property and real estate in Kenya and Turkey, luxury cars, commercial property, jewelry, and much more.
Surveillance confirmed that Amina Farah Hassan had already fled her residence. License plate readers tracked her vehicle heading south. Maritime records showed a private vessel scheduled to depart before dawn. This was no longer an audit, it was a chase. What investigators uncovered next revealed the true purpose of the operation. 30 miles outside the city stood an industrial property officially listed as abandoned, no registered activity, no permits, no employees. But utility records told a different story. Electricity usage spiked every night. Water consumption exceeded 90,000 gallons per day. This was not a warehouse, it was a factory. When tactical teams breached the site, the air inside was toxic. Industrial scrubbers ran at full capacity to mask chemical signatures. Conveyor belts operated non-stop. Production counters climbed continuously. Behind a sealed corridor, investigators found the human toll. 61 individuals, malnourished and terrified. Some had been reported missing months earlier. Their fingerprints had been burned off with acid to prevent identification. They were not workers, they were disposable assets. This facility used stolen child care funds to purchase chemical precursors. Ledgers documented $1.4 billion in materials over an 18-month period. The output figures were shocking. Tons of fentanyl produced daily. Large-scale cocaine production weekly. This was a closed-loop system. Taxpayer money funneled to fake child care centers, laundered, converted into drug production, and fed back into community destruction. By morning, confirmed losses exceeded $4.3 billion. Money meant to protect children had instead caused harm. 68,000 low-income children lost access to child care because legitimate providers could not compete with a criminal network that paid nothing for food, staff, or safety. Entire neighborhoods lost licensed child care capacity. The system did not fail due to a lack of rules. It failed because it stopped questioning repetition. Speed replaced verification. Compassion replaced scrutiny. Political fear replaced accountability. This network weaponized trust. It exploited the system's fear of asking difficult questions. It hid behind paperwork and identity. This case reveals an uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous criminals do not look like criminals. They look compliant. They look organized. They look like respected members of the community. The facilities are closed. The funds are frozen. Arrests are ongoing. But the real question is not what was uncovered here. The real question is how many empty buildings are still collecting millions right now. While children go without care, communities suffer, and taxpayers unknowingly fund their own destruction. If you believe every welfare program in America needs a full forensic audit, comment accountability. Stay alert, stay vigilant.